Gil Martin here. The Locked On road to the NHL trade deadline continues. The Columbus Blue Jackets have traded Vladislav Gavrikov and goaltender Joonas Korpisalo to the LA Kings in exchange for goaltender Jonathan Quick, a conditional 2023 first-round pick, and a third-round pick in 2024. With us, of course, now to discuss this, Jay Forster of Locked On Blue Jackets. And Jay, did this deal come as a surprise to you?
I think it was a surprise at how fast it kind of came together. I was expecting, it was basically a given that Gavrikov was going to be moved. I wasn't sure if they were going to move Korpisalo or not. He's been their starting goalie for much of the season, so it was kind of up in the air what they were actually going to do with him. I am surprised they moved them together, but I am not surprised that LA ended up being the landing place. They needed defensive depth. They needed a goaltender that's been performing like Korpisalo has all season, and they traded them to a team that I don't hate. So I'm taking that as a win in and of itself.
How do you feel about the return, getting the first and the third round pick in the next two drafts consecutively?
I feel pretty good about it. The first round pick is what's important. I'm a little surprised that Jonathan Quick was the player that came back. I wondered if it was maybe going to be, a B tier prospect, maybe a couple more picks. But with the goaltending situation in Columbus at the minute, trading Korpisalo, their third string guy, Danil Tarasov, is out injured at the minute. And their fourth string guy is in his second ever pro season. And he was undrafted free agent that they signed straight out of the OHL. So I'm not sure that they want to directly throw him to the Wolves immediately. It makes sense that they pick up a goalie in return. Quick is kind of at the end of his career. I'm not sure what's going to happen after this season. Reportedly, he's not super happy about this trade, but hopefully he can kind of be an adult about it, considering he's, 37 years old at this point. He can come in and, be a good veteran guy for the team as they kind of finish this season. And he's not having a great season, which can only help the Bedard sweepstakes. So, there's that.
Yeah, there is that. How big a concern is it about his reaction to the trade that he's less than thrilled? I'm sure a lot of it has to do with him not wanting to leave LA after all the years he spent there, but it has to be a little bit of a concern for Blue Jackets fans, I would think.
Yeah, I think it's the thing about Quick is, and this is something I've kind of been mulling over since, in the 3 hours since I found out about the trade. At the end of the day, he's literally a body to put on the ice so they don't make Elvis Merzlikins play like 24 of the last 25 games, because that's what they did last season. Joonas Korpisalo got shut down with an injury around about this time, actually, the beginning of March. And then I think Elvis played every game but 2 for the rest of the season. So whether he's thrilled to be here or not, at this point, I'm like, okay, let's just get through the end of the season. Let's not injure our only starting goaltender that we have left. Let's not break his confidence any more than it already is. Like, he's just here to kind of, like, honestly, if he can show up and go to work, like, I'm happy. I'm happy with that. I'm not expecting him to, come in and suddenly light it up and, we get vintage, 2012, 2014 Jonathan Quick. I'm expecting a guy that will show up to work and play maybe a third of the remaining games. He doesn't have to be happy. He doesn't have to perform well. He just has to be there to give Elvis a break, because I think it's been a tough season for a lot of people, especially Elvis. And I don't know that them leaning on him as hard as they might have to, if Quick has a tantrum down the stretch, is the best thing for him.
What, if anything else, do you expect Columbus to do between now and the trade deadline Friday, 3:00 Eastern time?
It's tough to say. I think probably they're done. They have a couple of other pending free agents, but it's guys that are kind of, they came in on 1-year contracts, depth guys. I think Mathieu Olivier is one. I don't expect them to flip him. The organization seems to really like him for some reason. I've heard chatter about Andrew Peeke maybe getting moved. He's got 2 years left on his deal after this one, I believe. But I think for the most part, The Blue Jackets are probably done. They're making noise about Jacob Chychrun in Arizona. I don't know how realistic that is, or whether it's just a bunch of insiders being like, hey, it would be fun if this happened, and they theoretically have the assets. I know they were in on him at the start of the season. I don't know that necessarily makes sense where the Blue Jackets are right now. They'd likely have to give up 2 first-round picks, which they do now have, as well as later picks and maybe prospects as well. So I don't know that they should necessarily mortgage the future for 3 years of Jacob Chychrun, who might not even want to extend here after that. So it's a bit of a weird one. I'm not expecting big things out of the Blue Jackets now. I think those were the, obviously with Gus Nyquist being traded late last night as well, just before the game. That was the 3 kind of the guys that I expected to be moved. So they might surprise us, but I'm not expecting anything that's really going to move the dial for the rest of the season.
All right. Well, be sure to check out Locked On Blue Jackets for more on this deal and all things Columbus Blue Jackets. And keep it dialed into Locked On NHL all along the road to the NHL trade deadline. This is the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.